Alright, I don't know what it is about me and tech that forms such an incompatible relationship sometimes, but every once in a while I do have something malfunction on me, or I do something that it inadvertently causes a system crash or a dead component, whatever. And in this case, well, I don't think I did anything wrong. All I was doing was swapping cards. PC's off, you hold the power button down for 20-30 seconds, make sure all the power's drained out of the caps. And I was swapping the cards because I was benchmarking Vega 64. Check out this video right here for that. Also Vega 56 coming up here soon. And then I put the 1080 Ti back in here just because that's the card that's usually in this rig. And the computer would boot up and then shut off about 20 seconds later and keep cycling over and over and over. Mind you, the only thing changing, the only variable involved here is the graphics card. This card worked perfectly fine with the PC before I tested Vega. I know that Vega didn't cause this problem, at least I'm fairly certain it didn't. I wouldn't have any way of proving that anyway, but we're not going to focus on that. I'm just going to tell you how I diagnosed it and what this means for this particular PC. So I'm really glad that the Gigabyte Z270X Designer motherboard, which I reviewed right here by the way, has a debug interface. So down at the bottom right, you'll find there are 4 little LEDs and they check for CPU, DRAM, VGA, and boot stability. And when I turn the PC on with all 4 DIMMs installed, I'll go ahead and do that just so you guys can see what I'm experiencing here. The LED notification light down at the bottom here flickers between CPU and DRAM. It stays on DRAM, tries to move over to the CPU, and then comes immediately back to DRAM, stays there for about 3 or 4 seconds, and just keeps alternating like that. And ultimately what will happen is the computer will still try to boot anyway after cycling through these 2 notification lights at the bottom, and then shut off. Basically the power trips and it tries to reboot again, just repeats the same process. So any second now the computer will shut off. Any second now, and there it goes. Then it'll try to boot up again, and if you notice, the LEDs around the motherboard and the ones that are synced up to the deep cool cooler here won't turn on until the PC kind of just tries to force itself past the little checklist here at the bottom where it keeps cycling between the DRAM and the CPU. So this saved me a bit of time. Like I said though, in my troubleshooting video, I'm just gonna turn this off, it keeps cycling. In the troubleshooting video I said that one of the first things you should check for in terms of like malfunctioning parts is the RAM. Most of the time either you don't have a properly seated module or one of the slots dies. That actually happened in my ASRock ATX motherboard in that video. So what I'm going to do, I already know what's wrong here, but it does involve the RAM. So I pull out 3 sticks. Just leave one in there. It doesn't matter really which slot. I mean, I know there's like a preference on the board for which slot you should put the first module in, but we're not really going to focus on that because we're not sure if it's a module issue or if it is a slot issue, if one of the slots is malfunctioning or if one or more of the modules is dead. I'm pretty sure it's not a module issue, just going right into this because this isn't RAM you pick up in an alley somewhere in Sketchville. These are Corsair Don Platts. So I don't know why I took that last stick out, but I'm going to just insert 1 DIMM on the far outside right slot and see if we get a post. We're gonna check the LED interface down at the bottom. And so we're not getting the flashing anymore. I'm gonna see it's moving to VGA check and we're good. So this is a post. You can tell the BIOS configuration's kicking in because all of the fan curves have dropped now. And this is stable. So this actually works. I plugged it into the computer, into the monitor, and made sure that this was a functioning system. So 1 stick of RAM on the outside slot is good to go. Now, there are 2 things we could do from here on out. We could start moving this module through each of the slots, seeing if it's a slot problem, or we could cycle through all 4 of the DIMMs and see if it's a module problem. I'm pretty sure it's not a Don Platt issue. Just gonna say that right off the bat. I have faith in the Corsair Don Platt series. So we're going to assume it's a slot issue. We're gonna stick with 1 card and we're gonna continue moving it through slots 1, 2, and 3. And there we go. So second slot is functioning properly. Now we're gonna move it to the 2 innermost slots, the 2 closest to the CPU, and see if one of those is in fact dead. So we are getting the LED swap here on slot 3, or this is actually on the board, DDR slot 2, so the second closest to the CPU socket. And so the motherboard, LEDs turn on, the thing tries to post, and then it shuts off randomly just like that. So that tells me that slot 2 on the board is dead. Now, just so that we're sure we've dotted all of our I's, we're gonna try the innermost slot now and see if for some reason we have 2 dead slots instead of 1, just for peace of mind's sake. And we're getting the same LED cycle, so actually, is that DDR4 slot 4 and slot 2 are both dead, and I don't know what could have caused that. I mean, other than just swapping out the graphics cards, I haven't touched anything up top. I did install this cooler, but I mean, really, like, what could I have done with the cooler installation that would have killed 2 RAM slots? That's a little weird. So the last thing we can do, just to make sure, again, for peace of mind's sake, is swap the modules, just to make sure that these are still functioning properly in the slots that we know are working on the board. I've already done that, not gonna waste your time. These are all still perfectly fine. So Don Platts, again, very reliable. And this is pretty much where I have to call it quits for this video. I'm just gonna go ahead and RMA this board. I have my Gigabyte contact, and we're gonna see if we can get a replacement. I cannot speak to what caused the issue. It's just, I mean, it's a fluke thing, and it just seems to happen to me more so than any other tech tuber on YouTube. The good thing is, though, at least you learned a few troubleshooting tips. If you didn't already check out the troubleshooting guide, you can click this video right here. If you like this video, or at least, I don't know, feel bad for me, press F for respects, and you can also hit the like button. I do appreciate that. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more interesting stuff here on the channel. This is Science Studio. Thanks for troubleshooting with us.